Welcome to the Underground.
Turn me up, bitch!
My Little Underground with Peter A.
It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Make sure you're subscribed anywhere you get podcasts and follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at MLU Pod. Today on the show, we have native New Yorker Raia Was. She's here to talk about her upcoming debut full-length album, Angel, I'm Frightened, Side B. She also put together an excellent compilation on Bandcamp, NYC-Sides Volume 1, which benefits food issues groups, and they provide meals to New Yorkers in need. And we also talk about diversity and lack thereof within the New York City DIY music scene, and plenty more right here on My Little Underground. Raia Was, what's going on? Welcome to My Little Underground.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. How are you doing with all this COVID business going on? Are you hiding out from the rest of the world like all of us?
Yeah, I'm hiding. I feel like I'm also in the world still. I'm still in New York, I didn't go anywhere.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, you're born and bred here, born and
Yeah.
raised. So, you're not like some of these people trying to escape. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm going down with the ship, there's
Oh,
nowhere
yeah.
to escape.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you're a big fan of Cocteau Twins, right?
I really am right now. I wasn't until March. I hadn't developed a deep relationship with their music until March, when it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I've just been obsessed with Heaven or Las Vegas. I'm catching up. I'm making up for lost time on that record.
Then you'll probably love the Beautiful Noise documentary that came out a few years ago. Have you heard of that?
I haven't actually.
Oh, it's remarkable. They kind of go through all the shoegaze legends, and I've never heard of Cocteau Twins until I saw that documentary, and they were one of the first bands that they talked about, and it's just incredible. If you're a fan of them, definitely check out that movie.
I will. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm saying, I'm getting a new education in like glossolalia music, that I feel like I'm saying, I feel like this should have been a deep part of my listening for decades that I missed while I was doing other things, distracted from the real point that now I'm feeling so drawn to with them.
Yeah, right. So, in your early, discovery of Cocteau Twins, I'm sure that Elizabeth Fraser's voice kind of struck a chord with you, no?
Totally. But also the harmonic structure of that record and of the music. There are all these embedded subtle surprises, which I'm really a sucker for. I feel that it with my favorite Bjork songs, where you're just you sort of, they drag you down super deep in the hole, and then really surprise you with something so subtle that feels seismic. I really feel that from the harmonic choices of that record.
Yeah, and just in general, listening to that kind of music, it kind of catches you off guard because, it's not what is said, it's kind of how it's said, and that's not for everybody necessarily.
Totally. That's such a good way of describing it. It's why for me it doesn't matter that the words are nonsensical. I love that. That feels like even more the point than when the words are the words. But you're right. I don't think that's for everyone. Definitely for me.
Yeah, same, definitely. Maybe this is from my observation of hearing this kind of music and what they call quote unquote mumble rap today. I think maybe subconsciously a lot of maybe new rappers have kind of inspired by Cocteau Twins without even realizing it. Is that fair to say? Am I crazy or what?
No, I love that theory so much. I also agree. I'm a mumble, I don't care what the mode is, as long as I feel what's happening. I'm really not attached to knowing the words or whatever. yeah, if the emotion has like a vein, like has a way, a route, that's like that, then it hits me like anything else. I like your theory. I think you should explore that.
We'll do. We'll do. I'll put it in my journal.
Or just like just start interviewing mumble rappers on like their subconscious influence from Cocteau Twins.
That sounds like a college course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe I should do that. I should be a professor. Yeah.
I mean, you could have fooled me. You sound like a musicologist as it is, and I
Wow.
mean, you probably are. No, you're a journalist, documenter, hop, skip, and a jump from musicologist.
Wow. Wow. All those in one. That's great. I got to add that to my resume now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you now. So your Angel I'm Frightened, not EPs of sorts, because you put out side A and
Hmm.
you're putting out side B, and it's going to be a full length album. What's the story
Yes.
there?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
full length album that I decided to split in two for the release, because it's my debut, and because while performing the record, and I performed it for well over a year before scheduling the release, um, I realized like in the way I was building the show, I was building like a pretty like call and response kind of doubling reflective show that was very dependent on like on duality, on there being one side that pushes against the other. And it I at first had the record aligned to sort of present the whole piece side by side, with the two sides in a different order, and all kind of like mixed in. And it dawned on me after a show one night that they should actually be separated and I should let the extremes live. And it's worked really well. It helped, I think, present side A as like one whole feeling, and side B is a different feeling, and they push and pull against each other. So yeah, it's a full length LP that is coming out in two sides, and it's been a long time in the making for me.
And you didn't plan to do it. I mean, you didn't like write it down in stone that this is how I'm going to put out this album. It just kind of just came to you as you were performing it. Is that right?
Yeah, I thought I knew what the order was, but I hadn't committed yet to a release schedule. And but I had already been performing it. I mean, I've been performing with my band, with the same band, um, this essentially this record in full since September of 2017.
Wow.
So yeah, the music was still being like recorded and finalized then, but it's been a body of work for a very long time. And I love set lists. Like I love writing set lists. I love thinking about like the curation of the experience of a show. And once we hit our stride with the show, it made me really like reconsider actually what the stride of the record was. It was interesting. I learned a lot from performing it about how to present the music. Yeah, and then I made like a total left turn and made like a very different decision about how I would schedule it and how I would present it. And my manager was there for sort of that amalgamation, and I think was really excited about that change, and it really lit a fire under us to start scheduling it, and then we did.
So you and your manager are kind of having these kind of conversations about, what to do in your live performance, or it's just you just thinking on the fly, or what feels right to you?
Not about the live performance. I mean,
Mhm.
we met at one of my shows, and the show was already like really fully realized. But as we were discussing our release schedule and our approach to releasing once we started working together, uh, it it happened in that time that I sort of had the realization about splitting it up, and I think he was really excited by it, and I think it made sense to him as someone who, before knowing me, saw the show. He heard the music first presented live before even hearing the record, and I think something clicked. Like a bridge was formed, um, from. I came up performing. I'm a live performer before I'm a recording artist. The recording side of me is newer, in contrast. So I think there was maybe something missing in how I was presenting. Like I wasn't writing the set list right for the record. And then once that clicked, we were like off to the races.
Yeah, and you know, thinking about the times we're living in right now, with everything going on, from a public health crisis to a social justice standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about being a musician during this time, especially with social media? Are you
Mm-hmm.
really careful about what you're posting, or is just, are you taking a step back and not really doing anything, or kind of flooding social media with support, or like where's the middle ground? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Social media has been interesting for me uh, because it's functioned. I've been able to really be in character on social media, and my presence and my uh, page has been about information about my project and finding little ways to perform through social media, through video clips, through abstraction, just I've tried to find a playful way to be on social media, but it's about the music project. That's what the content is about. And I think that anyone that listens to them has a responsibility to disseminate pertinent information in a time like this. And I like pretty much without missing a beat, just found myself immediately changing tone, like breaking tone, um, to participate and to advocate again for my city, the ship that I'm going down with, through whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the fight for Black lives, whether it's I this city like holds me so much, and I just like I don't know, I don't I think the line got blurred immediately, and I'm perfectly fine with it. So I changed on a dime and have been very different on social media than I was before, and I think it's a good thing, and I don't intend to change that. It feels nice to have broken voice. Yeah, that just kind of is what happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm seeing what you're doing on social media, and you kind of read the room, so to speak. You halted the release of your album because of everything going on. I don't think you thought it was fair to put this out there when everything is happening. But I think you're an artist. I think there's been plenty of musicians that have existed throughout times of civil rights. Bob Dylan, Nina Simone,
Mm-hmm.
Marvin Gaye, and it. Yeah, I think it's important for artists to be artists, but at least you're pointing out the elephant in the room.
Sure, and like if you're as social media requires us, especially as indie artists, to take up space, and I think considering the space you take up when very important things are happening is a responsibility. But I had Angel I'm Frightened, the title track of the record, was scheduled to come out in June, and I decided not to reschedule that because it felt like a strange investment in a in my voice going back to business as usual, and I wasn't interested in that. So I let that come out and had it come out while amidst everything else I was doing and advocating for, and it felt really good. It felt just real, and that was nice. It was actually I was happy with that decision, because if I have to be able to be all the parts of myself, and I'm like super connecting to trying to be an advocate, trying to understand and follow the wisdom of organizers and activists who've been working on this work for decades. Um, and then I'm trying to practice my artwork and offer something to the world. So it is all happening at the same time. I don't, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you know with everything happening, it's like you are doing something, and business as usual is what we're trying to change.
Yes.
So yeah. So what and your your NYC-Sides Volume One compilation with unreleased artists from New York City artists, which it was you're working with a lot of great causes with which we'll dive into. But
Mhm.
from the music side of things, why did you want to put this compilation only on Bandcamp?
Well, this compilation was also and probably was the first break from business as usual for me. I've never done anything like that before, and in March, I'm super close with food industry folks. They're my people, the artists and weirdos as much as the rest of us, you know. And I was witnessing Food Issues Group mobilize in this incredible way, changing course, like taking a left turn in the way they usually operate to mobilize and to like get in gear and start feeding people with their resources that they had, and was so inspired by it. And at the same time, I'm like mourning the loss of shows and missing the hang and missing the camaraderie of being an artist in New York. And like got with my manager and was like, what if we did a compilation record? Like what if we gave people an opportunity to contribute and participate and advocate for something that I really believe in and help these people that I see like really going to bat for New Yorkers. And I had never done anything like that before to this point, really. I mean, other than participating in the ways I can. I'd never really put something together like that. And other than curating shows, I guess it kind of felt like curating my dream bill, like my dream show,
Wow.
It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So yeah, I think maybe that was the end of business as usual. Also, we did that in the middle of this album cycle. I released the first single from side B, and then we released a whole compilation of something else. And then I went back to side B for the second single. One might argue that was a bad move in terms of consistent messaging, but fuck it.
So why a Bandcamp comp instead
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
the traditional Spotify playlist that some will
Sure.
do? You know?
Well, we wanted to make sure that Food Issues Group got money and that they got it soon. We released it during one of the Bandcamp Fridays. I think it was the second Bandcamp Friday that happened
Yeah.
during COVID. And I actually wrote Bandcamp about featuring it because they had an ongoing list about records or organizations that were fundraising for certain causes, and they agreed to take to in for perpetuity for the like life of this record to take even a smaller cut than usual. So they're taking very little, and the money is just going directly to Food Issues Group so that they can buy food for meals as soon as they get it. It just was like the clearest way to do it. I also wanted to be respectful. All these artists donated work, donated B-sides, C-sides, D-sides, as it were, NYC-Sides. They donated work that they hadn't had plans for, but I don't want I have no like intention of like owning or making that exclusive. So I wanted to have it on Bandcamp for this cause, but at some point in some distant future, like allow these artists to use it again, And if it's already on streaming services, that's a little more difficult. I don't quite know how that works, but it seems like Bandcamp is clearer in that way. People buy music and then they own it like we used to, right? So if any of these artists want to put any of these songs on a record of theirs in 3 years, they should be able to do that without it being confusing from like a DSP standpoint. So actually, I would say they lent me they lent this music to the compilation as like a temporary exclusive, which is so cool.
Tell me more about food service groups and what they do and why you have such a deep interest in it.
Yeah. So food issues group, FIG.
Food
FIG is
issues.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Food issues group, FIG as they're known on the street. Has been they're an organization that's been meeting, I believe, for 5 or 6 years, and they're chefs, food workers, front of house, back of house, food purveyors, farmers, wine people who work in food, but who are interested in discussing, educating, advocating for the issues inherent in our food system. And in New York, that means inherent in restaurants too, you know? And there, as far as I understand, I'm not a meeting attendee. I just am super close with a lot of people in this group. But as far as I know, they would meet sort of like a study group, and they would discuss topics um, that they were trying to incorporate in their own restaurants, and their own restaurant model, and their business model, and their sourcing, and just like, you know, continue to evolve their businesses and their way of being in the food industry, and not, you know, not take business as usual for granted, because there are a lot of issues, like there are everywhere, a lot of issues in the food industry and restaurant industry. And you know, they were not a group feeding people before COVID hit. And I actually semi-witnessed a meeting, an emergency meeting they held in March to discuss the very clear and imminent need that there would be soon for food. I mean, people were losing their jobs, restaurant workers who would be unable to get unemployment. Just like there were going to be hungry people imminently in the city, more than there already are, of course. And they, you know, knowing that they weren't set up to do this already, just like figured out a way to solicit donations, to route those donations to restaurants that were operational still, so that they could get those restaurants to commit to a certain number of meals. Then they came back and picked up those meals and distributed them through existing organizations in the city that were already dealing with hunger in New York and could express, you know, the like explicit need to them. So Ali Forney Center, the Movement for Justice in El Barrio, street vendor project. Those are the three that, off the top of my head, that they worked with, especially in the beginning, most closely, to identify need and figure out who needed food and who needed meals and how many people and how many meals. And they just got it done. It was amazing to see. And they're still doing it. I mean, I think they are continuing to make about 3,000 meals a week. Still, we're 4 months into this, you know? So as you
There
can hear,
is no
I'm
business.
passionate
Yeah.
about it.
Great. No, great. That's why I got you on here. And there is no business as usual. You know, like we said, we're trying to change that. And I think that's really cool that you connected with this group.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, in March, I was really scared about everything you're talking about food shortages, because I've been hearing about Trader Joe's is packed, lines around the block. The supermarket in my neighborhood was pretty packed, but it wasn't that crazy. But I was really scared for a while. But luckily, you know, at least, you know, I'm okay. And, you know, there's some people that aren't, but I'm so glad that, you know, you were able to connect, you know, a dire public health issue with great music. So, you know, you said that this comp was kind of like your dream bill. So tell me about the selection process of the artists that you've picked. IBGO, Gemma, Mass Gothic, Arthur Moon, and even yourself.
Yeah. Well, I asked so many people, and
How
so
many?
many. How we have 13 tracks on this, 12 tracks on this. I'd
Yeah.
say I got closer to 20, 25 people to be like, "Yeah, I'm interested," which is amazing.
Well, this is volume 1.
Exactly. I hope
Yeah.
so. The timeline was a crunch, and I was asking for tracks within like a week or two. So that sort of was, I think, a deciding factor for some people. But honestly, there was no one who said no. You know, people were just super down, which is why I love these people. That's why I love the city. Yeah, and I turned to artists I admire. I turned to artists that I knew, that I had long relationships with. Arthur Moon is a longtime collaborator of mine. I was in their band for a very long time. And Lip Talk, actually, Arthur Moon had done a remix for me, and Lip Talk and Noya had all done remixes of Side A, and they were all super down. The last show that I played before quarantine, I'd met Lizzie Lovelace. She was the headliner on that bill. Come on, everybody. I think on March 10th or March 11th, like really, really cutting it close. So we had just met that night, and I hit her up, 2 weeks later to add a track to the compilation, and she was down. IGBO I met a summer or two ago, also on a bill, and hit up Ben again. Similarly, just thinking about people who I'd played with and people who I'd admired. I'd never played with Saint Mela, but at Come On Everybody, I think it was also that last night, I met Wolf Aviva, who is in my band, also plays with Saint Mela. And Wolf was at Come On Everybody that night, and we clicked and exchanged info, and I hit her up. I've become an enormous Saint Mela fan since getting acquainted with their work. Yeah, I love that band so much. Mass Gothic, I am also super fangirl for. It's also low-key been a big quarantine listening for me. That the I've Tortured You Long Enough record. Ian Chang, who's not a super fan of Ian Chang, was also in the middle of a record cycle, had just put out his record and gave us a track. And Felicia from Gemma, I met through Arthur Moon, also on recommendation. Gemma, I know, and you had Gemma on the
Yes, I
podcast,
did.
yeah?
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
amazing.
they're amazing. Amazing. And the
Live
work,
and as people.
yeah, actually no, I have seen Gemma live. I saw Gemma on the bill with Meadows and Uni Ika I. Guess that was last summer maybe. Yeah, Gemma's killing, and all the music that Felicia and Gemma have been releasing in the last 3 months is just like remarkable and
Right?
such a lifeline.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um,
Um,
and I think this compilation is at least for me, like everything I like, about how I maneuver the music space. Artists I don't know, artists from New York especially, and black artists too. So
yes.
you hit all the right spots for me.
Oh, I'm glad. I mean, I'm looking at the track list. It's really a cross section, not along genre lines, which is like my favorite way to be in the music space in the city. My favorite kind of bills are ones that don't follow genre line, that like, are more about like people who know people who are like people who would like, who met someone late at night kind of vibe, like more on like people lines than genre lines. I feel like this list is that, like I could see where we would all meet it realistically, that like has nothing to do with the type of music we play, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And you got to do me a favor. You got to hit up IBGO for me. I've been trying to get them on the show
Yeah.
for months.
I mean, I'll try. I'll do
All
my
right.
best. They're very lovely people. That Track Foundation also is so good.
So good. It's so damn good.
It's so
Oh man.
damn good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their show, or the bill I played with them on at Cafe Urzuli a couple of summers ago, their show blew me away. They're just like lightning in a bottle. Their live show is really incredible.
Are you familiar with go-go music?
Yeah.
Don't they have that kind of, aesthetic to them?
Yeah,
Like a trouble
totally.
funk kind of mood? That's what I
Totally.
thought of immediately. I'm like, wow, this is like New York's go-go scene. I love it.
Totally,
It's great.
totally. And they just like are a rare band that can just completely transform the space from the minute they start playing. Like we and everything around us and the entire space around us like belong to them the minute they start playing. They just like, project such a wide vibe net and like a wide like experience. Yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, you did something great here, Raya. You put
Thank
something great
you.
together. I can't wait for
Oh,
part 2, 3, and 4. Let's go.
I
Let's do it.
know. Okay, okay. Yeah, I'm motivated. You're giving me the push I need. It's hard. It's hard to ask. You don't want to. Everyone's in a crunch. It's hard to ask of artists. But I was just so encouraged with a lot of the responses were like, "Thank you for giving me an opportunity to give back." So I have to remember that it's a two-way street. People want to give back. They want to participate, and making that easy is a good feeling. And man, release day felt like a party. Everyone was just like, we were all like super in sync and super on board with like what the day's push was and what the strategy was. And it was like, it was so cool. It was so cool to see that orchestrated. And then actually we did a second release round on Our House. Did you watch any of their programming through the last couple months? The Our House TV?
No, I've been watching a lot of live stream concerts. I think I saw like one or two.
Mm. Our house was cool because it wasn't exactly a live stream. It was like you could enter all kinds of content like concerts, like shows from before times, like weird art pieces. I had a like projection piece that I like an installation projection piece that I did a couple years ago. They aired that in April or March or April. They were like really uh like open to all sorts of visual, not just sort of like the standard live stream performance. And they were super hyped on NYC-Side. Graham, who runs Our House, is also a New Yorker, and we clicked immediately. And we did like a listening party on Our House, and my friend Black L, who does visuals and like mixed media art, he's also a musician, did like an archival visual loop that we ran through the duration of the record, and had like a listening party on Our House in May. It was also really cool. Those nights felt like shows, those 2 release days felt like mini festivals. It was a blast.
Actually, I'm lying. I did watch some stuff. I watched Rap Boys have a Twitch, and they
Yeah.
do some very entertaining stuff over there.
Yeah. Yeah, Our House is cool. There was a cool COVID pop-up.
Yeah. So you're a native New Yorker. So what part of New York were you born and bred and
in
raised
Chel-
in?
in Chelsea.
Oh, okay. In Manhattan. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, as an artist maneuvering the DIY scene, have you noticed? Well, what have you noticed about the diversity of the bills from all your time going to shows in New York?
It depends, but it can be really problematic. I think I've found that certain venues and those curators and bookers are committed to developing artists and creating a space for artists to stretch out. And I'm talking about like smaller venues, not even talking about like a Bowery or whatever, but like um, smaller venues who want to see artists thrive. And I think there like takes some vision to achieve that. And in those venues, I find that diversity and representation can be really strong, but not always. And coming up for me, I didn't see a lot of women on stage. And I also, when I was young, when I was a teenager, I was like operating mostly in like a jazz and improvised music circle, and was always the only girl. So there's that. Um, and yeah, I think it's something that we all have to advocate for and work for constantly, and hold bookers and curators and programmers accountable for. But that being said, I've been on some amazing bills like Come On Everybody. Come On Everybody has just been such a home for me and so many other artists. Um, and I feel, in that space, I really trust their work, and I trust that they're keeping an eye out, and they're really trying to make sure that there's representation. There's representation across genre, across faces in those genres, across gender, and it's important, and it's important to trust in the people who run these venues to be doing that work, because I don't think that work is done without effort. The landscape of music just can be very white and very male, and we have to fight against that all the time, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me tell you, I'm from Long Island,
Mm-hmm.
and heavy white population,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to go to some DIY shows around here, and there was one instance where me and my brother were leaving the venue. I tell this story all the time. We were leaving the venue, and then another black person saw us, and then this was his reaction. I kid you not, and I quote, "Black people come here?" I laughed, but I knew it was a sad reality of, the DIY scene. There's, there's a lot from what I've seen, not that many, diverse bills.
Yeah.
But when I saw Ava Luna and Gemma, my
Mhm.
world turned upside down. I'm like, okay, the hipster part of Brooklyn ain't too bad now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there were what venue was that? Do you remember the show you
That,
were
that
at?
oh, it was a small DIY spot on Long Island that doesn't really exist anymore.
Oh, and on Long Island too.
Yeah, yeah.
I was picturing you coming into the city for shows. Sorry, I was excluding the Long Island DIY venues. I was assuming that you were in the city for it.
Yeah, I've been, when I started going to shows in the boroughs, I was thinking that, okay, the boroughs, New York City, diverse. There's different cultures. You go down in there's certain parts of Brooklyn where it's like all Russian, then it's all Hispanic, and then so when I started going to a lot of these shows, I didn't see any of that. It was
Mhm.
not diverse at all. And for a while, I was like, I don't want to go to shows
Mhm.
because I don't see me anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't blame you. It's a problem. It's also that, like, venues and performance opportunities are not spread out equally, like, in the boroughs, and they tend to be in white neighborhoods. They tend to be in cost prohibitive neighborhoods, which makes it really difficult for those venues to exist, and also makes it very easy for only certain populations to get there and to be there. I don't know of a venue in Brighton Beach. I guess I'm sure restaurants have like Russian bands out in Brighton Beach, but you know what I mean? There's not
Yeah,
I've seen the thing that's most exciting actually as I'm working this through saying it out loud, the thing that's most exciting that I've seen in the last 10 years are venues popping up in so many different neighborhoods where there had not been venues before. Like
absolutely.
Come On Everybody's a perfect example.
I still
I
haven't been there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I still haven't
You
been. That and what's the other one? Secret
must.
Project Robot. Have you
Secret
been there?
project. Yeah, of course.
I haven't been there yet. Those are the two spaces I haven't been in on the DIY.
These are your scenes too.
Okay.
Did you come out to Zebulon when Zebulon was open or Glasslands?
No, no, I
Yeah.
didn't.
There were good vibes out there too. That was early days Williamsburg. Aughts Williamsburg. Um I used to work at a recording studio in Williamsburg that put on experimental, like improvised music shows, like somewhere between noise shows and like improvised free jazz vibes. Um, and that was fire. That was an amazing space, but like super, I mean, like semi-private in that it wasn't a bar. It was like very curatorial. It was like a curatorial art space. And again, like depending on the curator, spaces like that can be really nourishing. There's a place called Shapeshifter. I don't know if it's still around. Um, in Gowanus, which was the first and only venue I've. Oh no, it's not true. Bell House is in Gowanus, and Threes Brewing is in Gowanus. At that time, I didn't know of any other venues in Gowanus when Shapeshifter came around. And again, just like for out weirdo music and jazz with a great curatorial bent.
When I think it was like a couple of years ago, maybe a year or two ago, I was out in Huntington and there was this DIY show out of this studio, and it was comedy, and then there was like a bunch of hip hop artists. That was like the most black people I've seen in a DIY space ever, ever.
Mm,
And this is Huntington.
mm.
Huntington. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, wow, this is good stuff right here.
Have you put on shows yourself? Have you curated shows?
Yeah, one at this bar in Suffolk County, the Velvet Lounge. Me and a friend of mine put together a show, and it was all women. It was three bands. There was like
Dope.
nobody came, but it was because it was so far out. But it was fun. I had a great time doing it anyway.
Yeah. I guess it's not for everyone, but did you like putting the show together?
Yeah, it was cool because everybody that was there, well, most of the bands I already knew. So it
Mhm.
was it was just like, a simple. email or like a DM say, hey, you want to come out here? And so I even carpooled with one of the acts. I was friends with them, so it was like, yeah, it was a fun night. Like I didn't care that nobody really came. I didn't care at all because I had a good time, and I just, it was like I was just doing something with a friend, with friends. That's all it was.
I mean, that's kind of how it always is. That's how you have to be. Like I'm doing this with my friends. I'm doing this with people I admire, and we're gonna make this, a a quality night, an interesting experience, a thought provoking experience, a raging experience. Whatever it is, it's kind of all it is. In the end, it's all you can do.
Yeah. So as an artist in our times right now, with everything going on with COVID, etc., what is your main priority as a musician? Focusing on how to get back into the live space safely, or just recording music? Which one is it? Or both? Or none?
um, if I think for too long about getting back into the live space, I get pretty depressed because I think we're so far from there. Um, I really miss performing a lot, but at the same time, I'm not one that usually can like perform and be writing at the same time. Performing like really kind of turns me inside out, and writing inverts me, like the complete opposite. So with shows not on the horizon, I've found it pretty easy to actually dip into writing a new record, and I've been working away at that a lot. Actually, I'm even surprising myself with how much time I've been able to devote to that, and that it feels good. It ebbs and flows for sure. I had 2 months that were really strong, and then I kind of dipped off a little bit. It's hard for me to release music and also be composing. Releasing almost feels like a performance. So when Angel I'm Frightened came out, I kind of like the studio vibes dipped a little bit for me, but I think I'm getting back there. Um, and yeah, I'm even more than that, just I'm trying to think about the musical language of the next record, and like the direction that my music is going, and be really intentional about what that is, which is cool.
Great.
I just got a bass, my first electric bass, baby. So
There you go.
I've been playing a lot of bass.
Great. So I'm expecting a lot of low end on the next album.
There's
Let's go. Let's do it.
always a lot of low end. The fact that I haven't had a bass till now is a problem.
It's a crime. It's a crime against musicianship.
But yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm yeah, doing my best to try and keep my head above water, and stay I don't know.
Above water.
Stay above, exactly. Thank you.
Yes. Raia Was on My Little Underground. Thank you so much for joining me. Angel I'm Afraid side B coming real soon.
Angel, I'm
And
frightened. Angel, I'm
Angel I'm
frightened.
Frightened.
Sorry.
What did I say? What did I say?
I'm afraid, which is
I'm
also
afraid.
true. I'm frightened and I'm afraid.
Okay. Please, I highly recommend NYC-Sides Volume 1 on Bandcamp. I have it myself, and it's awesome. For real, for real. Anything else you want to plug or share before I kick you out of here?
I did a lot of plugging, but yeah, buy NYC-Sides, support Food Issues Group, be kind to each other, support your neighbors, just, check in on each other. I think it's the best thing we can do right now.
Great. How can people find you on social media and whatnot? You have a website? What's popping?
I have a website, RaiaWas.com. I'm Raia Was on Instagram. I'm Raia Was on Bandcamp too. I'm just always me doing what I do.
And Raia Was on My Little Underground. And
Yeah,
she was. She literally was.
I literally was. Thank you for
Thank you
having
so much.
me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
anytime.